Well, hello, everyone. We have with us today to talk about the effects of the corona pandemic affecting our community. We have with us Chief Spike Jones. Chief, thanks for coming to talk with
Afternoon,
me
John.
about this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And, I'm going to jump right in and let you fill us in. These are odd times. Let us know what you're seeing out there on a daily basis. And when residents want to know, hey, are you still out there doing the same things you've always done? Are you there to serve when we call?
Well, I'll tell you, and you hit on it. This definitely is an odd time for us. And 34 years plus of police work, and I've never seen anything like this in my career. But at the end of the day, we're still enforcing the same laws. Our officers are still filling the same shifts, and we're doing our job. Although, a lot of people have been asked to stay home. We're in one of those positions where we have to be out there so that these folks can stay home. A lot's changed, perhaps, in like how we approach folks. We've increased social distancing for ourselves. We've split our detectives up a little bit so they're not all in the same office at the same time. They're on different shifts throughout the day and throughout the evening, just to keep them and their families safe as well. But again, I go back to it. We're still patrolling the roads and the communities, and we're still enforcing the laws. None of that's changed.
So to that end, some have asked about, is crime on a downturn? Is it on an upswing? What are you seeing?
And I'll go back to this statement: crime's crime. Some folks are going to try and take advantage of this pandemic, thinking that we're not out doing our job. Well, they're finding out just the opposite. We're absolutely out doing it and catching people doing, unfortunately, sometimes the wrong things. We've seen an uptick, perhaps maybe in domestic calls, domestic disturbance calls. I think that's a national trend right now due to the kind of some of the stay-home requirements of some states. A lot of this information, I think at this point, because this is so recent for us here, is anecdotal, but we are tracking it. We're very interested in those calls, particularly because as police officers, they're one of the more dangerous calls that we send our officers on to handle.
Most of us wouldn't realize that, but I think that's, and you've got to plan for that regardless of what's going on. I guess the other thing I wanted to find out is that, are you getting many complaints, people worried about their neighbor? And again, we don't need to be worried about everybody constantly, but
Sure.
if you see groups, is that generally, are you seeing an uptick in that, or and how do you handle it if you are getting calls?
Well, our experience, and again, these are anecdotals from our officers and just my observations as being out on the road myself from time to time, people really seem to be abiding by the social distancing recommendations by the CDC. Now, I see neighbors, standing in their respective driveways, talking across the yards, and we've participated a few times in some of these public safety parades for kids' birthdays and different things, and more or less to uplift the community, because, when you're pinned up in your house and it's your 8th birthday, it's a tough day. So if we're able to maybe change that a little bit for somebody, we're happy to get out there and do it. But at the same time, while we're doing this, we see the community social distancing and doing the right things. Now, if we were to receive a call, a complaint in a neighborhood, obviously we would respond to that. We're not the social distancing police by any stretch of the imagination. But if there's a situation occurring, perhaps a field party or something, I think we've kind of heard of some of those things happening, across the river. We obviously would intervene in that type of a situation, even if there weren't a COVID-19 epidemic occurring, if the wrong things are happening. Again, it's kind of on a case-to-case basis. If folks are being safe, if they're taking the right precautions, and they're not putting other people, the rest of the community at peril, obviously we're going to support that. But we're not patrolling specifically for those types of things.
So you haven't seen a real problem either. I mean, you're not looking for the issue, but also it's not been a major issue, because if there's somebody who needs to be reminded of it, hey, just being aware of it, that's the part that you're doing, being reasonable.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, sometimes folks forget. They just need to be reminded. Sometimes we forget we need to be reminded. So it's really just us caring for our community and our community caring for us.
And that's a great way of putting it. You've actually, you're there to support, obviously, the EMS side of the world too. Are you are you seeing different parameters there as well when you all are going to a call where the ambulance is called out or fire department's called out? Are you seeing a difference in how you've had to operate?
No, and they're really truly our partners here in the South End, as our officers are certified first responders and all too many times respond and they're first on the scene and then require additional medical assistance through the paramedics and so forth. But they're responding and they're caring for people like they always have. Again, and part of the thing too to remember is very important is many of these precautions that you see the EMS folks taking and police officers taking, to some extent, we've kind of been taking those all along in our careers. It's just now it's ramped up a little bit more because of the uncertainty of the COVID-19 pandemic. But many of those precautions we've taken all along the way. So they're not as foreign to us as they might be some other folks, but certainly they're not typical, at least not to this level.
And so far, your officers have been safe. You have everybody healthy right now.
Right now, and knock on wood, Judge, we're 100%, and our officers are being very safe. They're very conscientious, and and they're as concerned for their families when they go home too, bringing something home. So I know they're being very careful.
And you've been also partnering, of course, with our parks department, because we've kept the county parks open, and that seems,
Sure.
again, knock on wood, seems to be going well. People are actually just getting out. We're taking a walk with their family. We have had to close down the basketball courts in the areas where you might have non-family members congregating in a close area. But have you had any issues there? What are you finding there when you're out and about?
Judge, I've been out and I've hit the parks a number of times each week. It's usually what I try to do. And I know our SROs are currently patrolling the parks right now. So we're very fortunate to have them out in that capacity. In my experiences, folks are taking the appropriate precautions and social distancing. I see some families out fishing sometimes, or some kids out with their parents. But as far as the basketball courts, those have all been secured. The play sets and so forth, those are secured. We haven't had any issues with any of that. And, we wave to folks and they wave back. And it seems like people are really enjoying just having that outdoor space that's still being provided for them by the county.
Well, I appreciate, it's really, we should appreciate, obviously, we're really participating in a safe way and in the community using that resource. I think everybody appreciates that. So any last thoughts to the community about what you think, a message you'd like to get out to Kenton County residents about as we're dealing with COVID-19?
These are tough times. They're challenging times. And I think we're seeing Kenton County rise to that challenge, obviously. We're thriving in many instances, and we're learning a lot about each other and what it means to take care of each other. I know our folks here at the county police, as well as I know that the entire fiscal court, are committed to seeing COVID-19 eradicated. And we're just going to stay on that path. And we're going to keep doing our jobs and keep making this the county the best we can.
I appreciate everything you do with your entire team, and we'll check back with you soon. Hopefully we continue to have better and better news. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Judge. I appreciate it.